The following video is meant to educate as well as entertain consumers. While we do show short clips, these are used to highlight points being discussed with regard to mental health topics. We are licensed mental health counselors who utilize pop culture to educate people in a fun and amusing way with regard to mental health.
What do you get when you take some therapists and put them in front of a screen to watch something creeping back from childhood that should have never been for children or preteens? They're gonna dive right in and reassess those flicks. What's more scary and disturbing than you realize and gave you nervous tics? They're the movies that traumatized us.
Hey everybody, I hope you guys are doing great out there tonight. It's good to see you all again. It's been a month since our last one, what did we do last? I've already forgotten. I've forgotten because of what we're doing tonight.
The Goonies.
Goonies, that's right, it was Goonies. Goonies was great. Goonies was a good one.
Goonies was great.
Tonight, in case you guys can't see above my head and you didn't read all of the other stuff, it's an American Tale! And you'll notice that tonight's little chat blurb about what we were reviewing doesn't give a whole lot away, except it's a trauma bomb. And that is because, I'm gonna say this, we've said this before on this stream, and I'm gonna say it again, but fuck you, Don Bluth.
Fuck you, Don Bluth and Steven Spielberg. We have to give a trigger warning for this entire show.
Oh my god, yes we do. This entire show comes with a trigger warning. Just yes.
Just immigration, war trauma, kidnapping, death, all of it.
Hey, Welsh, nice to have you with us. Glad, first time chat from a viewer. That's the first time I've seen that notification. That's awesome. I love that one. This movie comes with a trigger warning, guys. There's so much that happens in this movie. Like, literally, we watched this movie and we went, what the fuck did we just watch? I haven't watched this movie since I was a kid, okay? Since I was a kid! And I did not realize how bad this movie was.
No, I just thought it was a cool, cute little mouse when I was a kid going to America and finding his family.
Out there, you know, like...
No, I was stuck on the song because I thought the song was cool when I was a kid. And now as an adult, with everything else going on, it's like, what the fuck? Who would do this to children?
Literally, that is, I mean, I'm pretty sure we said that actually at the end of our watch. We were just like,
right?
Why was this even a kid's thing? Like, I don't understand. So, to talk about this, let's put some of this in context. So, we learned some interesting things in doing research for An American Tale, right? So, obviously, you guys know, if you've ever watched the show, that's what we do, right? We review the movie, and then one of us, usually just Nikki, goes out and does research. Sometimes I do it. Sometimes I just have an ADHD brain and don't get to it. But Nikki somehow manages to every time, which... Thank goodness for that. But this time, I almost wish that we hadn't. So let's talk about first the town that the Mousekowitz live in.
Mm-hmm. So, like, it's Soska, Russia at the time, which is now modern-day Ukraine.
Yes.
On the border of Russia.
So just to clarify that, in case you didn't quite understand, Fievel, if we brought him into modern-day times, is now a Ukrainian refugee.
Yes. So what was happening at the time... So it's 1885, 86 Russia.
1885 Russia, right after the death of the Tsar.
Yeah, Tsar Alexander II. And the Cossacks were doing a revolution, and they were doing ethnic cleansing of the Russian Jewish people. And Fievel's family are Russian Jewish people. So they have the Cossacks who are going into the town.
And killing people for...
Yeah, for no reason. And then instead of the Cossacks, they have the Katsaks. So they'll play on word for the mice.
Right.
Invading the mouse ghettos and eating them.
Yeah. So this is what we're presenting to you tonight, ladies and gentlemen. I hope that you are ready for this, because when we found all this out, we were just like, please tell me that is not the case. But it is, and so we have some interesting stills. I'm going to show some of these stills first before we jump right into it. So, that leads me to, let's bring up, which one do I want first? I think this one here. So just to give you,
I gave you a shit ton of maps.
I know you did. We have a ton of maps. And I did not check to size these maps. I apologize for their location. So here you have, this is I could probably make a minor adjustment on this. You'll see way more of the screen than you wanted to, but this is where Fievel's town is, right up here in the Ukraine. This is the dark border, obviously, is the border of the Ukraine and Russia. So that's where Fievel's town is, and I think we have another one that zooms in on that spot just a bit more. That would be this one here. So it gives you just kind of a better idea of like just how close his town is to
the border,
Russia.
Where, you know, if we're bringing it into modern day, where the Russian troops were lined up to invade Ukraine.
Right. And to be entirely fair in all of this, right? Like we have a map too of there you go. This is our map of Russia, right? You can see where Kazakhstan, Mongolia is, and you know where the Ukraine
way in the corner.
And yeah, and keep in mind too, right, that at this, like, I'm just gonna move the map over a little bit here so you guys can see more. This is, I believe, the brown state right up here is Belarus. A lot of this stuff used to belong to the Russian Empire, right? Like way back when. So this is all once part of Russia. So yeah, just the craziness. Hey Akuma, how are you? Glad to have you with us tonight. We're talking about the trauma of an American Tale, in case you missed it there, bud. And how crazy, if we bring it into modern times, is that Fievel is a Jewish refugee from the Ukraine after ethnic cleansing happened.
It's just like...
It just gets worse. Oh, and we learned an interesting fact about Fievel's name, which was that...
It's Steven Spielberg's grandfather. His name was Fievel. And that's where Steven Spielberg pulls some of his inspiration from with Don Bluth to create American Tail. And yeah, when we get to a certain section in American Tail, I'll explain some memories that his grandfather had. But that's where Fievel's name came from.
So everything here in some way loops back into like real life events, which is just weird, and somehow allegorically becomes part of the modern political landscape, which is a little terrifying to me. I'm not gonna lie. It's like
if we ever got anything of history like repeating itself, this is one of, I mean, granted, it's not a country invading another country, but it's similar to what's happening.
I mean, yeah, the whole thing just...
Whew. I mean, genocide, ethnic cleansing.
Yeah.
I mean, Bosnia-Herzegovina is in that area too. It just...
Yeah, it's just terrifying. Like, when I think about it, like, I'm like, what did we do?
What did we do? What did Don Bluth and Steven Spielberg do?
Well,
we're just reviewing it and watching it and putting it together.
It's just the whole thing. Like, I thought that I had created some bad trauma moments on this show. Honestly, like with the things that I've done in the past on this show. But this takes the cake. Like, us picking this movie at this time to watch and review and then finding out all of this stuff. Just...
I mean, we thought it was bad when we started to watch it. And I was like, oh, I forgot they're in Russia.
Right. Like, and not only that, like, we also thought it was bad when we were watching because we were just like, wow, there's all these things that happen, especially when we get to the boat scene. We'll talk about that when we get there. But, you know, there's just all these little, like, it's just so much. But the thing that I'm going to point out about this film, because we're about to really start our breakdown of it, this film is literally a trauma bomb. It is trauma from the minute the movie starts until the minute the movie ends.
I was going to calculate and do the math, but I guarantee there's maybe 15 minutes where there's nothing traumatic happening.
Most of it at the beginning.
No, there's like even just 2 minutes in the beginning. It's in the middle where they're doing the rally.
Yeah.
Some other like fluffy bunny stuff.
Yeah.
But and the whole like love triangle with Bridget and Tony. But most of it is
that's just weird.
Yeah, I feel like they felt like they had to throw that in there.
I mean, it was that time frame for movies in general, like where we did stuff like that. Like everything, I mean, we still do it, where everything has to have a love story.
Right. But it's not relevant to all the trauma that's actually happening.
Right. It's really not. So I mean, without further ado, let's start this up. We open up here, with you know, the family at the beginning, kind of preparing for this.
They're celebrating Hanukkah.
Are they celebrating Hanukkah at the beginning?
Yep.
Wow, that shows you how much I remember from the other night when we watched the movie.
Well, I watched it high last night, so yeah.
So are you sure it was Hanukkah?
Yep.
Okay.
Promise you, it's Hanukkah.
Well, that's where we open up. We're gonna open up with the Mouskovitzes celebrating Hanukkah. So let's have a quick gander at that.
In America, you can say anything you want, but most important is I know for a fact, in America there are no cats. Shh.
No cats.
They'll hear you. How could they hear us?
That is not number one. That's when the cats come.
This is literally what I opened up, was number one.
Oh,
In
well,
America,
I
you can say
did it wrong. That's my
anything you
fault.
want, but most important
Yeah.
is I know
See?
for a fact,
I just reopened it.
in America.
Okay, well, this is the disillusionment of the American dream.
How could
Killing me,
they
Smalls.
hear us?
Killing me. This is the invasion of the Cossacks and the Katsaks.
Yeah, the Kazakhs.
Oh, also, all of our films and all of our clips in this one, I think, are pretty long, aren't they?
Yeah, because the trauma stuff is... I tried to cut it down. Because I know we get censored copyright stuff every time we put something up.
We really do. It's such a shame. But as you can see here, so we have this just immediate trauma in the beginning of the film, right?
And the way
the
they
cats
draw
are just
the
vicious.
cats.
I'm sorry.
I mean, he drew him like he drew a dragon in Secret of Moon.
Absolutely.
Don't cry, Yasha. I'll scare him away.
Rifle going out to play hero.
Okay, now we've got fire. So we've got fire, we've got raiders, we've got these dragon cats, like...
Go away.
My sister absolutely loved this movie. If she found out I did this, she probably would just hate me forever now.
She loved a never-ending story, too, and didn't realize there was trauma in that.
That's a fair point. That's a very fair point. My sister had like the huge Fievel plushie that came out after this movie was launched. She was traumatized by it because somehow it got lost and we never found it again, and like that's like her carryover trauma.
Aww. I had a Fievel in the attic. I don't know what happened to it. I think actual rats ate it.
Never do that again.
Mama, look.
And of course, their house is burning down.
And you get to see, like, the Mouskowitz just... It starts out with, like, it has this happy Hanukkah. You know, Papa's doing Fiddler on the Roof, Dreamer, and the mom's really pragmatic. And the baby's in a Fabergé egg.
I love that part. I mean, the baby sitting in a Fabergé egg. Like, are you serious? Really?
Mm-hmm. And then we have the invasion. So now they're displaced refugees. Deciding they're going to go to America.
Yes, literally. Deciding they're going to go to America and that they will go to the land of dreams and they'll be fine. They'll be safe. Because there are no cats there, right?
Right.
No cats in America. So I believe our next clip is has to do with the American dream and there being no cats. So we kind of touched on this already, but this is where we set everything up, right? To come into the disillusionment of the American dream. This is the part where we set everything up because at this time, you know, America was still very much the land of opportunity for a lot of immigrants out there in the world. A lot of people coming to America still believed that this was a place that they could come and the streets were paved with gold.
Mm-hmm. And then the song, it has the Italian and the Irish and the Russian viewpoints of how they were oppressed.
Right.
Just a joke.
Oh, well, that is the beginning. Never mind.
Happy Hanukkah.
I really messed up this numbering.
Wow. Did you mislabel these two? Yeah,
Apparently I did.
Because, this is the beginning. Alright, so we're going to cover this one really quickly, because this is just the happy moment at the start that reels you into the movie. Sorry, we got these ones out of order.
It belonged to me.
I was just following somebody else's game plan on this, guys. I just want to point that out.
Yeah. Dropbox and I were not friends this morning, apparently.
Too big.
You'll grow.
There's that Fabergé egg. Well, part of it,
Yep.
anyways.
The bottom part of the Fabergé egg.
Okay, so that's where Papa comes in saying there's no cats in America, which is where the other part picks up at that we had. So really what I meant to go to at this point, instead of this part, which is the actual beginning, is the No Cats in America song.
I hope it's right.
I'm starting to get a little worried now.
Either that or it's going to be the razor blade. One or the other.
Well, folks, let's find out.
It's clip grab bag time.
No, this is definitely No Cats in America.
Score did it right. And then we get to see the actual death of a granny, a Russian granny mouse.
And I woke up an orphan. But
So here's one of those moments where we're literally taking the time to erase the trauma we just experienced. I talk about that a lot in a lot of our other movies, right? Anybody that's kind of come along for the ride before knows this. We talk about a lot how we use these happy sequences and these moments of like bliss and whatnot to kind of erase the dangers and the trauma of the scenes prior to them. Or almost even sometimes to set us up for the trauma that's coming, you know, to kind of get us in a place of equilibrium where we feel good about things, so that we have almost so we have a bigger down when something goes wrong.
Yeah, as a kid, I didn't understand that. With the Don Tabioli and the cross got yeeted out of the window. I didn't understand that was the cat actually eating the thing.
Right.
And we also find out that Fievel's dad is an orphan, which probably leads to some of the trauma that he had later on with Fievel. He thinks Fievel's dead.
What I also don't understand, though, is why there's an Italian and an Irish mouse.
I'm not even getting to the logistics that we talked about of why they all ended up in Hamburg, Germany, when literally there are ports from Ireland
To the U.S.
which are quicker than going to Hamburg, Germany.
Coyotes.
Coyotes that crossed the ocean?
Coyotes that took him to Hamburg, Germany to get on the liner to cross the ocean. Because I don't know. I just don't understand. It doesn't make sense.
They wouldn't even know what coyotes were.
Also, these are very white mice.
They are very, well, a lot of... Hello, Prince. How many it's a co-host, Prince.
Oh, look, and now we're at the danger scene. So we're gonna move through this pretty quickly because this next scene, this literally sets us going up right into the next clip. So this next clip takes place, you know, right after this song. They encounter a heavy storm at sea, and of course, obviously, that's dangerous. Heavy storm at sea, not something we really want to encounter most of the time. Definitely not a fun experience. And in this case, this is what we end up with. Oh, that part of the razor blade scene. Now I remember. As Fievel was literally threatened with death by a straight razor.
And then he decides to be slick and throw his hat and be like, come
he
here,
wants
Papa!
He wants to go see what's going on. Also, I'm pretty sure those are still the wrong doors for a boat.
Probably. Because they would be sliding and
I'm
have a
getting
latch.
my hat, Papa.
Such a kid move right there. I'm getting my hat, Papa! So you throw it up into the wind.
This is him being a manipulative little shit right now.
Wait.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, Akuma, how's your night going?
Stop!
Papa! Oh, the trauma starts already. Papa!
And we talked about this when you and I watched it, that this is one of the cartoons that kind of highlights a bond between a father and a son.
Yes.
That a lot of the cartoons at this time, and even in the 90s and early 2000s, did not.
Right, they really didn't. And this one actually does. It really highlights this strong bond between father and son, which is really nice. I love how the wave just turns into this giant monster.
Right?
Come back!
It's like there's really no part I could have cut.
There's not, because this whole thing is trauma. Everything from what's happening to the dad to what's happening to Fievel to this giant, monstrous, evil wave. That's just like the epitome of a Disney villain.
Right? Like, if he... Think of Night on, like, Devil's Mountain or something from Fantasia, only it's water.
Right? Right? Exactly. Hey, that's awesome. I'm glad you're off work. Getting dinner. Yes, I had to do that before we started the show tonight, because it's always a weird night for me on Thursdays when we start the show, and I have clients right up until right before the show. So as you can see in this scene, obviously, this whole moment, everything that happens here is trauma. Everything from the moment the waves infiltrate into the boat and Fievel gets separated on the bar of soap and starts getting passed around. Because then I might be a little traumatized by your cat right now. like your shoulder looks like it just sprouted ears. It's like...
Can't. This is just what he does.
I mean, hey, more power to him. But, you know, because you immediately get faced with the straight razor coming at Fievel. Like, just hands down, just right at him. And then the scene kind of quickly shifts so he doesn't get hit by it, but it still shaves off a chunk of the soap, letting you know that it was a very close call.
And a very sharp razor.
Yes. And then you get Fievel climbing the stairs, acting like a little shit, and you just know the minute that he looks up there and he throws his hat that this is gonna go all wrong.
Mm-hmm.
As a kid, you're like, oh yeah, I would totally do that.
Like, that's a smart idea. We should do that. And then as an adult, like, understanding what it's like to take care of children, you're like, what the why?
I know, right? Like, seriously, I just picture my small child doing that. Because I can totally see it happening.
I could totally see any of the children that I saw at the boarding school that I used to work at doing something like this. In fact, I think some of them did do something like this. It's like, you don't understand until you get older.
You really don't. And then, you know, so one of the things... So we talked about this briefly while we were watching the clip. This really does have... This whole... The whole movie itself has this really strong bond between the dad and Fievel, which I think is super awesome. You didn't see this a lot at that time frame. In fact, a lot of the movies that we've reviewed from this same era, right, from the 80s era, we've talked a lot about the disjointed father or the disconnected father in terms of the family system and their interactions with their children, and how they're pretty much just shown in this overall, like, provider role where they don't actually interact with the children or they don't actually have a good bond with the children. So this was a great change of pace to see.
Right. So to some of our listeners and viewers that have told me, why do you guys always hammer the dad? We don't hate dads. We just call things like we see them. Fievel's dad, yes, he's a dreamer, but he's a good dad.
He's a very good dad. He's very invested in his children's lives.
Mm-hmm.
And he takes what happens here through the rest of the movie, it drags him down. Like, Dad enters a state of depression from this point forward.
Right.
Like, all through his entrance into America, right up until Fievel rejoins the family, Dad is in a major depressive episode.
Mm-hmm.
Straight up, and it happens here, but I blame some of it maybe on the asphyxiation from the rope choking Dad as he was getting dragged around the boat. You know, just saying. Maybe it's not really the loss of his kid. Maybe Dad really does not care for his son. No, I'm just kidding. Dad absolutely cares for his kid. And does our next clip, is it the... Oh, no,
it's the immigration
scene.
Where
so
he's
shortly
like
after this, right here, as it's kind of pulling away, you see Dad kind of screaming for Fievel.
Mm-hmm.
And like, it's a really touching moment that happens between here and Dad returning to the family in the belly of the boat.
Harmony Gear allows you to show off your geeky, yet possibly freaky side. We have our exclusive Movies That Traumatized Us merchandise. Show off your pride for your favorite podcast, as well as needs for freaks and geeks here at harmony-gear.creator-spring.com.
Oh my god, like just hearing Fievel say Papa or scream Papa, and
Papa,
then
help me,
and then
Papa!
and then Papa going Fievel, you're like, oh my god, could you
I know
please pluck my heartstrings anymore with the trauma that I am watching? And no, you can't get PTSD from a video. However, this one comes pretty close.
I mean, like, seriously, like, even now I feel my heart just being like,
Just dropping, like, ugh.
I know, it's just, it's worse than Subdrop, let me tell you.
Subdrop isn't like that. Subdrop is almost like no. No. I don't feel like I'm losing a child in Subdrop.
Right, exactly. Like, literally, as a parent, this just, like, breaks my heart. I'm just, like, I'm laughing about a lot of this because I don't know how else to process this right now, because I'm just like, what would I do? I'm pretty sure I would have just died with my kid as I dove overboard trying to save them.
Right?
Like, I'm not so sure I could not, like, stop myself from doing that. So the next part, we reach immigration, and so, like we said, this whole movie has this real, like, overall immigration vibe, and being a refugee and what it means to come to a new place, and suffering trauma both back home, right, which is why a lot of refugees leave their home countries to begin with, because there's something drastic and dangerous happening, and they go through all that trauma, to the trauma of crossing to a new country, which we've experienced, right, here we go, right, we just did all of these phases of immigration in, the first 30 minutes of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
So, and now we get to arriving in America. And actually, I thought this scene, just before we play it, I thought this scene showed really well the level at which immigration officers back in the day, letting people in on Ellis Island, just didn't really care about whether or not they could say your name. They just rearranged your name to be whatever fit their tongue or fit their ease of understanding best. They didn't really care about whether or not they were saying it correctly, recording your name correctly, etc. Which is why we see, as people start looking back for their lineage and their immigration records of their family, they have a hard time finding them.
Mm-hmm. Because they changed their names at Ellis Island.
Yeah, or they weren't recorded properly, because they got changed in such a way, or they were misspelled, etc., etc. So we see that in this scene, so let's, get on with it.
Name? Smovolodny Dromovichki. Okay, Mr. Smith.
Right there, Mr. Smith.
Mr. Smith.
5. Oh, I mean 4.
Okay,
Oh, the depression! Oh, Papa!
Change my name to Tilly.
Look at that! So much emotion in that face!
I'm not sure where I stopped filming this clip.
Well, I mean, this is totally the, I lucked out by all the stuff that got thrown overboard on the ship. A thing that actually floated and I can hide in. Gotta be a bit waterlogged, though.
Yeah.
And there we have it. I don't. Do we have a picture of the Statue of Liberty in this one, or
Well,
do we have a
the Statue of Liberty's in our backdrop, right?
Oh yeah, it is. So just in case you guys were wondering, if you don't know, this is actually the accurate color depiction of the Statue of Liberty.
Mm-hmm.
She wasn't originally green.
Until the early 1900s when the oxidation process took over.
Yeah, green is the color copper turns as it oxidizes. She was originally copper. So this is the Statue of Liberty that people actually saw, not the one we think of today.
Any copper raider's wet dream.
Right? Right?
Imagine how much she's worth now.
I know! Could you imagine if you were able to go over there and just start parting her out for... Just, like, I can't even imagine, like, could you imagine trying to just clean the oxidation off?
No. I don't want to imagine.
Like, imagine how shiny she would be. I mean, think about it this way, right? Okay, so she was designed by, a Parisian in France.
Mm-hmm.
And there's two. Actually, I think there's three. There's a small one, another large one, right? Or is it just two large ones? I thought it was a small...
it's just two.
Maybe it's just two. A small one and this one, right? There's a smaller scale one. I think she's in France still. Anyways, they take care of the Eiffel Tower to keep it from oxidizing and falling over. They repaint that thing like every other year.
Yeah, well, that's France and the Eiffel Tower.
I know, but I'm just saying, imagine if we actually took care of the Statue of Liberty the same way. Could you imagine?
What? You want us to take care of our things?
Infrastructure, what? Okay, so all right, so anyway.
I'm not getting on a political risk.
No, that's why I said anyways. But, so anyways, yes, Statue of Liberty was actually copper. I keep going the wrong way with my hands tonight. I don't know why. Statue of Liberty was actually copper. It's kind of a beautiful thing back in the day. But moving on from that, Fievel's gonna meets a pigeon, I believe it is.
Yeah, he's a pigeon, and it's not very long clip.
Yeah,
it
this
just shows how condescending.
clip. This is how Fievel finally makes it to Ellis Island.
In luck, my little immigrant. This is America.
Oh yeah, he's French. I forgot.
America. I thought it was bigger.
Yeah, they were supposed to model him after the sculptor for the Statue of
All
Liberty.
of that is also America. This is just an island.
Because a pigeon could totally rivet this entire statue.
He sure believes he can.
And then the whole musical number of Never Say Never.
Yes, which was a really popular song, by the way, back then. Never say never. But never say never has actually become kind of an iconic phrase, too, in cultural history, if you think about it. We all say it. Well, I don't know so much about kids and adults nowadays, like, younger than me, I mean adults. Like,
It's really popular for me in relationship counseling to not use absolutes.
Well, not using absolutes makes a lot of sense. Never is an absolute, right? Like, never. I'm not ever going to do that. Really? You're never, ever going to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutes are something to try to stay away from, which is why the song is great, right? Because it does teach you not to say an absolute, right? But at the same time, it was a really catchy song.
And it's also the pigeon giving, I know he has a name and I can't remember it.
It's
like
Henri.
Jean-Pierre. Oh yeah, Henri. Also kind of some toxic positivity.
Yes. Henri has a lot of toxic positivity, the way he spells out never say never and sings the song, and like, I mean, in all honesty, while we do often teach that we don't want people to deal in absolutes or talk in absolutes, right? Sometimes you have to say words like never, right? Like, I'm never going to do that, because you're not ever going to do it, or you have a history of never doing this one thing. You're going to say you never do that, right? Period. End of story. Because it's something that crosses a line for you that you won't do, right? Assuming a moral relativistic space, right? That doesn't mean that you're dealing in an absolute. You just know it's something that you don't do. Period.
Correct.
So, there's a time and a place for all kinds of words, right? I teach my kiddo not to say the word hate, right? Because hate is a strong word. Dislike. Save hate for things that you really actually...
I dislike profusely.
Yes.
Extreme.
Well, actually,
Extreme
so it's kind of
dislike.
funny, because I've actually taught her that. I dislike this profusely. I've actually said that. And it's like, don't say hate. I dislike this profusely. And then she just looks at me because, 6. I'm like, trust me. That's the right way to say it. It's the right way to say it. But, you know, anyways. I think next is he gets transferred over to the mainland, and
he gets dropped off at Warren T. Rats.
Yeah,
he falls
to
through
get
the
help,
skylight.
right? To get help.
Yeah.
And Warren T. Rat's like, yes, I'll help you, and he tracks him off to a child labor camp, basically.
Yep.
You'll see what I mean, guys. If you haven't seen it, you'll see what I mean.
It's very interesting.
With his cockroach or cricket friend, I can't remember which.
It's a cockroach.
Warranty rat. What can I do for you, poor kid?
I'm looking for my family.
Hey, you come to the right fella, kid. I know exactly where they are.
This is the first
Come
time
with
he
me.
crosses paths with his family and doesn't realize it.
Have it
Right.
your way, kid.
Thank you, Prince, for
Remember
putting
what
your butt on the
Shakespeare
screen. We all needed
And I
that.
quote, opportunity
Prince,
not
have some
but,
shame,
but,
sir.
We have been mooned.
But once. Taken at the tide will lead to fortune. If denied, will never return.
Do you really know where my family is?
You're not eating
Trust me, hey,
it.
trust
Do
me.
that.
Oh, did we go to the morning?
Mama, I keep having this feeling.
Oh yeah, the grief of the Mouskowitzes.
Oh,
That I am meek and gentle with these butchers.
Let's see, that's where he crosses. Like you see the basket go
Yep.
up, passing
he
them.
goes right by his parrot.
A bed, Evo. A new worker.
What about my family?
You don't need a family, kid.
And all
You got a
because
job
Warren
here.
T wanted his
Just send
50
me
cents.
out.
Yep.
And where do you think you're going? You're mine. Now get to work. You, what are you looking at? Back
Yeah,
to
we
work.
didn't have to portray rats as terrible here. Just breaks my heart. Breaks my heart.
There's the sweatshops in New York.
All of the sweatshops in New York at this time. All the seamstresses and the Mouskowitzes were tailors.
Right, and before you switch away from here, if you look in the corner, not Fievel's bed, but across the way where you see the bald guy with the glasses, that's the asshole from Asshole in the cunt monks later on.
What? Really?
Yeah.
All right. All right. Good spot. Good spot. That I would not have gotten that one. What's this one? This one is labeled 8. I don't know what this one is.
I don't. It's right after this. I didn't remember what it was, and I was talking to somebody. So
Oh,
I
this was the
couldn't-
school. This was the school scene.
Oh yeah. So with this one, where Fievel's like pressed up against the glass, this is how Jewish children could attend school back at that point. They could only watch through like windows at other children going to school, and that's a memory that Steven Spielberg's grandfather had.
That crotchety old rat.
Munchies. And this, like, we were talking about all the stuff that he was going through just to, like, the child labor camp. He almost gets run over by a train, and then he gets down in coal dust, and you were like, oh, now you got black lung. That's
Yeah,
great.
I know. This literally is the part where he gets black lung because he's about to fall into this big pile of coal dust down here. Look at this. Fievel's dead. That's it. He's got black lung. It's over.
That's it.
It's over.
That's all, folks.
Done.
Thanks for coming out.
That rat's dead in 30 days or less. For the amount of coal dust he just coughed out of his mouth. He's dead in 30 days or less. That mouse is done. His goose is cooked. His tail is up.
He's done.
Look at it, still falling off of him.
I know.
Look at it. It's still just coming off of him.
Papa!
Oh,
And
that's right. He hears the violin.
Oh yeah, this is the megaphone.
Almost gets killed by the horses.
Yep.
I love how slow motion the horses were too, while they're like he's trying to dodge around them.
Can you
he like scream into the megaphone here? Doesn't he go
Yeah.
Papa into the megaphone and just echoes? Ah, so much. My heart.
It's like I didn't have the heart to like stop it and then go to there because he just keeps getting into like traumatic situations.
I know.
Oh, Papa.
Oh, the sadness on his face. It's just so bad.
My heart breaks for this little guy.
I know.
Fievel, I'll give you full counsel forever.
It doesn't have eardrums anymore.
Nope.
That mouse is deaf.
And then he gets like flattened with the wax cylinder. Whatever was recorded on this wax cylinder is not
it's
there
done.
anymore.
Yeah. Gets a corset
Brain
thrown at him.
damage.
Oh, and this is where he meets what's his nut, Tony,
Tony.
and he gets the name Philly.
Hey, Billy. Billy Mouskowitz.
The other thing too is you can see just how dirty America is here.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and this is supposed to be like the land of opportunity, the streets paved with gold, but it's not. The streets are paved with dirt and gross and filth and, you know, everything that everybody was trying to escape at that time on their en route to America, right?
I wonder if there are like theme elements of apple cores and water, because this is the second apple core we have seen in water.
Yeah, it is
in this film, because the first one was when his father and him had a cool moment with the herring on the boat.
That's right. That's right. It was indeed. So this next scene is where everybody gets traumatized all over again as they realize that there are indeed
cats in America.
What are you all afraid of? Cats, cats.
So my dad says cats, 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 cats,
Papa
cats.
told me.
I like more
Everyone
apple
knows
slices.
There are no cats.
You know, it's got to be because America and apple pie.
Well, that and apples were probably fairly popular. Easy fruit.
And they grow very profusely in
Yes.
New York. I had an acquaintance who grew up in
Like,
apple pie.
all of the cat trauma, man.
These cats don't even look like cats.
Well, so what I love about this, right, we'll talk about it as soon as this scene is over, because there's actually something I love about the depiction of the cats in this movie, even though, like, they're so terrifying. But...
Hey, you all right?
Oh, that's right, this is where he meets
You
Bridget.
ain't hurt or nothing, are you? No, I'm okay.
So he'd already met Bridget. This is where they're like, oh, you're amazing. No, you're great. And they fall
And
into
the
the
heart.
hat. Yep, and the heart with the hat, yeah.
Think they are. I'll show them a thing or two next
Too
time.
much. Oh, this
Hey,
was a
what's
Mice
so
United rally
good?
right here that happened.
Yeah.
So, one of the things that makes a lot of sense if you stop and think about it, about why the cats look so absolutely terrifyingly evil, is that we're viewing them through the eyes of the mice.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So it would make sense. And I think back on my time with the Rats of Nim. It's the same thing. We're viewing them through the eyes of the mice and the rats that have to deal with the cat. It is a giant, terrifying, evil monster to them.
I could see that.
Right? And so it kind of makes sense. Like, if you view it through that lens, right? And of course, we're all about looking at things through different lenses. If you view it through that lens, that's exactly what it looks like when you start thinking about why these cats look so absolutely terrifying and evil. Instead of just being a stylistic choice of like, oh, let's make the cats look as mean as possible. We think about it from the mouse's perspective, that's probably what they look like to them. Just raging, draconic monsters.
With mustaches.
With mustaches. Yes, can't forget the mustache. Oh, I forgot about the sexual tension with the upper class mice.
Oh my god, I saw that last night, and I'm like,
I totally
what
forgot.
the hell?
Yeah, we might as well throw that one in here.
It's Gussie Mouse.
Welcome to the show, ladies and gentlemen.
The richest and most powerful mouse in New York. What's she
Gussie
doing?
Mousenheimer.
Yes. Who can't talk?
Right.
There's a dead mouse on that table.
It's an Irish custom, Gussie. The cat's got him today.
Precisely why I am here to see you.
Would you care for a wee drop of the creature?
And she's
Today
supposed
was
to
the
represent
worst ever. Those
the
cats are killing
upper class
everyone. They don't
Jewish
even know the difference
mice
between
community.
rich and poor. The wedges.
Oh, shameful.
As you know, I have dedicated my life to helping those less fortunate than myself. That's everyone. And now I want you to help
So
me.
arrogant. That's
We must
everyone.
have a Wowie.
And that's everyone. As she's looking at Fievel. And
As
that's
he's
everyone.
eating cheese.
A Wowie. A large gathering
Wowie?
of mice for a reason.
For a reason.
A rally.
That's what I
Yeah,
said.
there it is. With the
A
feather.
Wowie.
Ah.
Tomorrow,
And she smacks
at
him.
Mouse Hiner Park, we will all decide what to do.
And when would a mouse ever have an ass that big? I'm so confused about why.
I think there's a bustle there. Like,
I mean,
it
she's
just-
totally got a cage underneath that, like, pushing her out, but it just cracks me up, because it doesn't even make any sense. Like, did she think she needed to be that hoity-toity?
I don't know, man. Gussie got back.
Moving on. That's... That might have been too far, even for me. Nah,
Really?
that's
Really?
enough.
With
She
Jeremy
talks like
and
the lady
Mrs.
from Blazing
Frisbee?
Saddles, and she was portrayed as German. Thank you. That's actually a good point. I totally forgot about that lady from Blazing Saddles.
Oh, yeah, she does.
You're right. It's a fair
Good
point.
catch, Akuma.
See, look at that. Akuma, we're always glad to have you around. Alright, so this next part is probably the most beloved and well-known piece from this movie. By the way, one of the things I love about this is that neither of the actors singing this song can sing.
Yep, and there's no auto-tune. That would be a project. Auto-tune somewhere out there. The original, not the...
Not
professional
any
version.
remake, the original song.
Off-key and...
But it's beautiful, right?
It is.
There's something lovely about the fact that it's not perfect.
And it's that innocence. Like, yes,
Yeah.
we're gonna find you. And both of them, like, we're gonna find each other. And that sibling bond that they really didn't play up a whole lot.
Yeah,
in the
this
movie.
is probably the strong, like, you see a little bit of it with Tanya, like, I know Fievel's still alive, and Dad's like, no, he's not, we have to accept that he's gone. But they definitely have that connection. Which would make sense, because technically this is a mouse family, and all three of the children should be the same age. Mice don't have just one pup. Just saying.
True story. He would have multiple other siblings.
And if they all are different ages, they definitely are all from different litters.
But
Mom
you know
and Dad
what?
were getting busy.
Don Bluth did the same thing in Secret of Nim.
Yeah. I know. Well, because it's much easier to portray families this way, right? Than try to explain to kids why there's like 8 siblings that all have the same age. And 8 more all of the same other age, and 8 more all of the same other age. That's a lot of animation to do.
It's like, well, octuplets. Multiple sets of them. Man, they got nothing on Octomom. Just saying.
But I do love that this song is actually not perfect.
Me
I think
too.
it humanizes this song a lot.
It does.
And this is one of those few moments in the movie where there's no trauma. By the way.
Besides his grief that he's sleeping alone in the water tower.
Well, yes, but if we want to talk about grief from that perspective, it's also Tanya's grief because she doesn't know where her brother is.
Mm-hmm. This
and
is true.
she's trying to cope with the idea that he's gone by not... This is her stage where she's bargaining, right? Just let him be alive.
Mm-hmm.
I have the hope that he's still alive. I know he's still alive, and I'm just gonna hold on to that idea. She doesn't want to accept that he's gone, so she's just continually bargaining for the idea that he's out there somewhere, and she's gonna find him.
It's the same thing with Fievel, with his grief of losing his family. Like, oh, they're out there. I'm going to find them. They absolutely will still be in New York.
Right. I mean, they could have, hopped a train. The train that almost ran him over, they could have been on that on their way to, I don't know where that train was headed. Probably Chicago, maybe? I don't think the rail ran to Chicago in 1940.
Because there are cats in America.
I mean, yeah. It's yeah. Or, likely eaten by, yeah. Cat gang maulers.
Yeah, that's where he meets Tiger.
Oh, yeah, Tiger. Good old Tiger. Put him up, yeah. Put up your dukes.
Well, see, he's drawn into the sewer by the violin, because this is what's like a big point.
Right.
But now we have the ominous bugs that are symbolizing that this is not Papa.
Right. Well, these also aren't the, clickety-clack cockroach that does math. These are definitely more sinister bugs.
Mm-hmm. And the hat. Can't forget the hat.
Can't lose the hat.
And whatever that is, I don't know what kind of fish that is, but it's terrifying.
Yeah. But again, remember, we're viewing it through the eyes of a mouse, so who knows what it really was supposed to be.
Terrifying.
I mean, yes, terrifying is the given. The Mott Street Maulers. Oh, this is where he learns the truth about,
Warren T. Rat,
Rat.
And that Warren T. sucks at playing violin.
Alright, ante up, boys.
And Tiger sucks at playing cards. Oh, I just noticed that cat had a card under his tail. Cheating fuck. Sorry, guys. This is a mature stream after all, but still. Cheating fuck.
Another reminder. I don't know why that was cut so short, but it was.
Well, I mean, that's okay. We're gonna get to Tiger and the band.
I'm your god.
I'm your god. Come on.
And this is definitely it's Don DeLuise who's voicing him, the same person who did Jeremy.
Yes.
But it's more of this effeminate.
Oh, hey, I don't.
And I had this thought last night, and you can be like, Nikki, what the hell?
Alright, hit me with it.
But, okay, imagine Fievel is older. Okay, not a child.
Okay.
They're
come on.
kind of like a homosexual couple. Because they're saying how much they are alike. They like the same things.
That's true.
Which is very effeminate. And in cartoons in this era, you couldn't be outright and say you are gay.
I mean, it also kind of comes out anyways as Tiger, or as he talks some more, that he's, he's a vegetarian, he doesn't eat mice, and then, there's all kinds of there's all these little clues that he himself is gay, right?
Mm-hmm.
Without them ever actually coming out and saying it. So that in of itself, I guess, is not all that surprising to me. That you would have that thought. I could kind of see that. He bonds with Fievel at this point. It takes him a little while, right? This scene goes on for a bit, but they bond. And, Tiger actually ends up being on the side of the mouse civil rights and revolutionary movement in America, right? So, this is...
Oh, this is when they're late to build the secret giant mouse of Minsk.
Oh no!
And see, he just misses his family again.
Yep.
And they're releasing it too early.
Yep, way too early. The mouse is smacking the cat in the face.
Oh my god, this gotta be like Gussie Mausenheimer's dominatrix debut. Because then originally, in the planning, she was wearing these tight pants with a crop and just smacking things with it.
What? Why did we not get that?
Because I was high and didn't think it was important at that point.
No, I just mean, why did we not get that in the movie?
Oh, yeah! Disregard the nose. What's in a nose? Nose by any other name would smell as sweet as heaven.
Great whiskers, he's a cat. He's a cat.
You know, and Warren T as a villain is just, he's not very memorable, to be honest.
He's really not. He's not a memorable villain. But to be honest, though, he's just barely an antagonist in this whole grand scheme of this. Because the antagonist in the movie itself really isn't Warren T. It's that Fievel is missing.
Yeah, Fievel is missing, and the disillusionment of America.
Yeah, that's the antagonistic plot points in this whole movie. Warren T's kind of a side note. He's not even an important character. He just exists as a driver for the plot points of, like, disillusioning America.
Right.
That's it. That's all he exists for, if you really think about it. So at this point, you know, we've talked about a lot of the other little trauma things, but one of the things that we've missed all throughout these clips, just because, you know, they didn't come up, is that all throughout this, every time we see Papa, we've seen him a couple of times, but every time he pops up, he's still very much going through all of his stages of grief. And so is everybody else in the family minus the baby, right? Tanya's still going through hers. Mama's going through hers. Mama's trying to put on a big brave face and be like, no, everything's okay. We can get through this. But again, I want to come back to the point that we talked about earlier when we first started the show, which is that this is one of the few times that a dad was portrayed as being an integral family member and having an emotional bond with a child.
And having depth.
Right. And it's such an important thing to note because, again, as Nikki said, people have told us that we always dad bash. And it's not that we intentionally dad bash. It's just always been that none of the dad characters from any of the movies that we've ever reviewed have had the level of depth that Papa has in this movie.
Right. Honestly, we just call it like we see it. And right, the mom is played down.
Mom is played down. Dad is elevated in this versus what we normally see, which is dad played down and mom's elevated.
Mm-hmm. So it's a big role reversal.
Yeah. Even in My Girl, fuck that movie. Even in My Girl, the mom role was elevated when Jamie Lee Curtis's character came into the picture and dad got played down. And dad was emotionally distant and detached from his daughter and didn't really know how to relate or care and wasn't trying. You know,
he showed a different side of grief, like Dan Aykroyd's character in My Girl.
He did.
Versus what Mr. Mouskowitz is playing here. Because he's definitely being very emotional and into his grief and in touch with it, then being detached. I think the mom is showing, like the mom Mouskowitz is showing more of the detachment, but doing it on the side of being pragmatic and trying to rescue the family, being the rock, like you were saying earlier, Sarah.
Yes.
Like someone has to be the rock.
And ultimately, when you suffer that kind of loss in a family, somebody in the family does have to be the rock. Somebody has to hold it together as long as possible to keep everyone else afloat until they have their own time to break down because everybody else is okay. And I hate to say that, but when you have a kind of family loss that the Mouskowitzes are experiencing, that's what happens. Like, I remember, like, you know, we'll use myself as a perfect example. When my grandmother died, I was the rock for my family. Everyone else was grieving, and I had to hold it together. And then as soon as it was all done, like, that I broke. I broke in the church, if I'm going to be honest. But, like, I pulled it back together and held on to it for a little bit longer. But, like, once it was all done, I was done for days, for weeks almost. Right? So the level of grief they're experiencing is pretty palpable, and they did a great job, like, Don Bluth is as much as we yell about it, Don Bluth is great at examining the emotions that his characters are going through. He doesn't try to downplay them, and he doesn't try to hide them from the viewer.
No, he even said in an interview, because I said this before, he does not shy away from these more adult themes, because that's life, and he feels that it needs to be portrayed like it is on the screen, not to sugarcoat it and whitewash it. He even does it in his color scheme.
Right.
Like a big difference you'll see between Disney films and Don Bluth. Don Bluth has a very muted color palette
yes.
versus Disney's bright, popping, look at me, I'm so awesome.
Yes.
And it goes to play with the somber emotional roles that Don Bluth has in his films.
And you'll even notice it in the music in all of Don Bluth's films too. The music is much more downplayed. It's a much more mellow tone that has elongated note structures to it versus you know, Disney's like hyper elevated note structures where you get a lot all at once and you have these fast upbeat songs that carry you through without getting emotional until you see them draw back because a hard scene happens, right? All in all, though, like, there's such a good portrayal of grief throughout the course of this whole movie and what this process looks like for the Mousekewitz family. And it's important to note that it's playing out through all these scenes. We've skipped over a lot of them because we don't have time for it all. But it's there, right? It's always an overarching factor of what's happening, either with Fievel and his trying to work with, you know, his newfound friends, or if it's with Dad and Mama Mousekewitz trying to deal with the loss of their son. So it's important to note, and like this is a really good scene, and I only bring it up because yes, this is another point where we talk about him just missing his family, and it's happened. This is like the 5th time it's happened in the movie at this point. He's literally been in the same room or the same area as his family, and people have been in the way. There's been too much noise, and they haven't heard each other. He's just walked right by them, or they've come out a second too late from an area he just walked through. Like, literally, they just... The number of times that they just miss each other is terrifying. And when you think about it, even in the real world today, that happens all the time.
It does, where... Not so much anymore with the invention of cell phones, but before we had things like, you know, GPS, location, all this stuff... It happened to me when I was meeting somebody at the High Museum of Art. We just missed each other by 2 minutes.
It just happened to me this last weekend. I had no idea that my aunt was at SeaWorld at the same time as I was there. The whole day, we just missed each other. All day long, we were at opposite ends of the park, just constantly missing each other.
Talk about, like, finding, like, somebody and... When I was on a cruise ship a few years ago, I saw my Girl Scout leader. Yeah, like out of the blue, her and her husband and her daughter were there. And I walk up to him, I was like, "Are you so-and-so?" They're kind of looking at me funny. I'm like, "I'm Nicki." It's like, what?
That's crazy.
Right. And it was just like, I haven't seen you in over 20, I think it was 22 years we hadn't seen each other.
That's intense. Holy cow. That is intense. Can't even imagine. Anyways, long story short, it's just important to understand that the trauma of this movie, literally, like, we keep moving scene to scene, but it's just there. It's a palpable overtone. You know, it's not even an undertone with Bluth, which is what makes it great. So moving on, this is the arson scene.
Oh, saints be praised. It stopped.
Prince, I need to put a sensor on your butt.
Wait, the secret weapon!
Release the secret weapon!
Oh no! Release the secret weapon!
Pick up your knife!
Oh my goodness!
Wait, the secret weapon!
Release the weapon!
I love watching the mice try to use the scissors. And here they are, they're all there's fire all around them, they're trying to do this thing, and they just don't have the speed or the agility to get it done. Cat butt on the screen.
Those cats are terrifying, right?
Is he just... Yep.
He's bathing you.
He's just licking your head.
Yep.
Great use of fire, by the way. The cats thought that they were causing a problem for the mice, and they just used that fire to their advantage.
They did. And then another concussion. Okay, so Fievel now has 2 or 3 TBIs.
The intensity of the color scheme here just to create panic and terror.
And that nightmare pool.
That thing is fucking terrifying.
The giant
I mean, if I saw that, just that face coming out after me, like, nope, we're done. We're done.
Didn't sign up for this shit. Get me out of here. I think the whole... Okay, I'm reading your statement here real quick, Akuma. I think the whole father thing is also a difference where Disney tends to impose the American family dynamic at the time where mom is home and takes care of the kids and therefore has the bigger emotion connection where father is usually the one at work and sending time away and not being able to connect as well. Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. There is some truth to that. Disney does like to play to that whole, like, mom's a homemaker body, right? Like, should be at home with the kids and having that emotional connection while dad is, you know, off fighting yonder war or we're earning the dollars for the kids, right? But Disney has tried, and let's be fair, right? Let's talk about Finding Nemo, right?
Yep.
Disney has tried to increase the level at which father characters are portrayed slightly better, right? But Disney is notorious for killing a parent, period.
Right.
Well,
even
movie,
like...
kill a parent.
Yep. Kill a parent. Even in Up, where they're having that surrogate bond between, I can't remember their names, but the old guy and the scout.
Isn't it Carl and...
Yeah, Carl and...
Something, I forgot.
I'm not even going to say what I'm thinking his name is, but... But there's that surrogate bond. And then Pixar did Onward.
Onward was great.
Which was amazing for grief and realizing that you can find other father figures even within their own family.
Yes.
But it did bring up a lot of father stuff. So we're not... Stereotypical Disney back in the 80s didn't have a whole lot of father stuff. They're getting better now. Even with Moana, the father bond with his daughter... But he was still being like a, you need to do this versus...
Yeah, less like, you could tell he cared for his daughter, but he was also an overbearing parent.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So, like, you can see those stark contrast difference. So I'm glad you bring that up, but that's absolutely correct. You know, I don't think we've ever really analyzed... We haven't done any Disney movies yet.
No, we haven't.
So we've never really analyzed the whole father bond thing during Disney movies. Yeah, absolutely. You're absolutely right, Akuma. Right. No, they're doing better, but looking at the period is absolutely important. And we try to do that with every movie that we look at, right? We try to view it through what was happening at that time and what the dynamics were at that time and what was a modern accepted value. And we've talked about that a lot when we review movies about there was a different time. This is how they did things. And, you know, but that's what makes this one unique, right? Because... during this time, you didn't really see this bond. Now, that's not to say that these types of bonds didn't exist, but it wasn't the type of bond that was portrayed on average, right?
Correct.
This is a rarity to see a bond like this. And so it's great to see it more and more nowadays, and we definitely are seeing it more, not just in Disney, but in other films. You know, we're getting more and more, like, in touch and in tune fathers, or father figures, which is super duper important. All the way around, but
more emotional intelligence,
right? But to have it at this stage of the game in the 80s, priceless.
Mm-hmm.
Priceless, absolutely priceless. To have that kind of emotional intelligence from a father figure. So, I mean, it's just not something you would have seen normally back then. At least IMO. So,
I don't really remember a whole lot of ones besides this.
Yeah. Fire started with kerosene. Is this a different one?
Yeah, it's the one where we were like, this is actually how a fire is started.
Yes, that was great because so you think about the typical movie fire starting, right? This is actually a much better portrayal of fires being started. Not that I want to glorify fire starting, but it is kind of important because...
It's not quite Hollywood, well, it's not Hollywood magic because it's cartoon, but this is how an accidental fire could actually start.
Right. Oh, look at that. It's raining fire from the skies now.
As all the cats run to get away from giant mouse.
The cats all mostly got shoved on the ship. Now it's all the mice running. But of course you've got Mama and Papa Mousewoods and Tanya Mousewoods running out there.
And the fire brigade. Then Fievel almost dying of smoke inhalation.
I mean, he's already got black lung. Can't get any worse.
So what? So someone is calling a Philly Moscovitz.
They changed my name.
This is Papa's disbelief here. He can't believe that this might actually be his son because he's given up on the idea that Fievel could possibly be alive after that storm.
And Tanya's trying to rationalize with him, well, they changed my name
Right.
to Tanya,
Stop!
or Tilly from Tanya, and
Right.
so how is it a big jump for Fievel to go to Philly?
Here, tell my daughter his name is Philly and not Fievel.
His name is Philly.
You see?
And Fievel.
And Fievel. And Fievel?
Papa.
No, there are many Fievels.
I love Dad's
in New
disbelief.
York, maybe thousands.
And now he's like,
It could
what?
be
So now Hope is
another
coming back.
Fievel Moscovitz. No, Papa.
And then they find the hat.
And now Mom is broken, by the way. You can hear it in her voice where she's like, no, Papa. And she's holding the hat like, it's just written on her face. It's just so like, Mom is breaking down.
Fievel. I really want to know how Fievel's not dead. Out of all of this stuff, he's the most physically resilient mouse.
Like, even there. One last flare-up.
I didn't even realize this was Orphan Alley, is what it said.
Yeah.
And this is where we meet Asshole and the Cunt Monks.
Yes. That is actually what is coming up. It's totally, I'm sorry. I don't care. It's Alvin, Simon, and fucking Theodore. Like,
Right?
Hey, fellas, he's looking for his family. He's looking
for his
family.
That's Asshole. And
At least you know who they are.
the kid that we saw from the sweatshop.
They should be looking for you.
They don't care. Forget them.
I don't even know how to deal with the
You're
fact
right.
that this is a
They
thing
don't
that we
care.
spotted
If
in this
they
movie.
did, they would have found me. Well, they don't care.
You know,
I don't
I'm
care.
just saying,
I don't care.
like-
I never see them again.
Yeah, you're nothing. You're junk. You're trash.
You trash.
Make yourself a bed.
Make yourself a bed.
God, these guys are dicks. They're such
They-
terrible
They're
creatures.
cunts.
They are straight up cunts. You're right.
I'll never find them again anyway. Never. Never. Never.
And our last one of the night, ladies and gentlemen, is this sadness happening right here. You know, this poor kid's like, I'm fever dreaming this shit right now.
Yeah, he's like, he can't believe it.
Billy. Hey, Billy Moskowitz.
I never dreamt this morning I would be whiting a feline.
Whiting a feline.
Wine.
I knew that.
Keep playing. Keep playing.
How'd she
We
get
will
such
find
big
him.
mouse boobs? I'm so confused. Like, why do we have anthropomorphic minds?
And we wonder why we have furries.
We wonder why we had Rule 34 Jeremy. Mrs. Frisbee.
I would say look up the Irish Mare and Gussie, but don't.
Oh my. That sounds mildly terrifying now that you say it. Just saying.
Oh, now
Look at the bags around his eyes, like the redness from him crying, like, oh, the sheer joy, Papa, Papa.
Papa.
Five. Wait! Stop!
Oh, look at that happy dad.
Oh, I'm not. Shut up. You're crying. I'm not crying.
They run right past each other. the way, I want to point out this is the trauma erasure happening right here.
And all the bright colors.
Oh, the tears.
What's come over me? I am
Tiger, don't make it about
having
you.
a cat.
I've never been so happy in my life. I have friends. Lots of little tiny friends.
Oh, Tony, isn't it grand?
Say, I don't hear no one thanking me here. Oh, yeah.
Fievel, I knew you were alive. I knew it.
She's right. She did. She felt it. She was the only one who believed he was still alive.
Boy back
Yep.
from the dead.
But that was just because she was bargaining.
America.
So she just got lucky with her bargaining coming true.
My Fievel. I
Aww.
thought I would never see you again.
Look at that, Dad. Just intermixed happiness with sadness happening right now. Like, ah.
I nearly forgot. Here, Fievel, your hat.
And now it fits.
Not really.
Well, not really.
He's just
Fit better than it did in Russia.
You are a mouse.
true story. Lucky he didn't lose it when he got thrown out to sea. So there's just so many things, right, that happen right here at the end. But there's so much trauma erasure, you know. Anybody that's been with the show before, like Akuma, who's definitely watching Denver Bear Hunter, if you're still with us, anybody else who's watched the show, I talk about it a lot. And I'm going to talk about it again because it always happens, and in case we have new viewers so that they understand, this is literally the erasure moment. This is where we take away all the trauma that happened in the movie and say, look at this happy ending, it's so cheery, and even though there's kind of a sad undertone in the music, there's bright colors and everybody's happy and a little bit of sadness, emotion, but it's because they're happy, and all the bad things that took place just seconds earlier in the film, you're not thinking about them anymore. You're thinking about this lovely family reunion, the happiness that is taking place, all of these things. And you leave the theater or you get up from your chair with your popcorn and your kids and your family and you have the happy feeling of, look, at their family was reunited.
And you're only thinking of the songs.
Yep.
Somewhere out there, No Cats in America,
And
Never Say Never. Like, these are the songs that you're thinking about. And they paint like this really happy-go-lucky picture versus... We just went through an hour and a half or more of solid trauma.
Like never-ending trauma. Which then brings me to this. I have to say, we talked long and hard about how we were going to rate this movie. No, actually, we didn't.
We didn't.
The rating on this movie was pretty much a consensus. Yeah, you think you stopped watching it as a teen Denver Bear Hunter? Absolutely. I can understand that. We literally came to a consensus right after this movie. In fact, we had to invent a whole new screen for this. I hope you guys enjoy it. Here it is for you.
But if you close your eyes,
Emotional damage, emotional damage, emotional damage, emotional damage.
That right there is the sad, sad truth of our trauma. It was definitely a 10.
Damage.
And it was definitely emotional damage.
I don't know if we will ever have another 10 again.
Okay, so I'm going to be honest with all of you out there right now. When we started coming up with this show, right? When we started talking about doing this show, we said, okay, well, we need a scale. We'll rate it 1 to 10. And I was like, will we really ever have a movie that's a 10? And we talked, we were like, yeah, probably not, but maybe. There's always the possibility. Never did I think that this is the second movie of season 2. The second movie of season 2, we would be handing out a freaking 10. But this movie is so laden with trauma.
Right, I was thinking when we started getting into the B-rated horror flicks, we'd have a 10 out of something because of all the body horror and stuff that would happen in those, but not in a cartoon.
Right, definitely never thought it would come from one of our cartoon level shows at all. And we literally ended the movie when we watched it. We literally ended it and we went, what the fuck? that was literally an hour and a half of trauma. And I was like, I was like, well, I think we should rate this. I went low. I was like, think we should rate this, I don't know, an 8? And Nikki was like, no, that was a 10. And I didn't even have an argument for it. I was like, no, you're right. I just thought I would try and pass it off as an 8. Like,
I mean, literally every 2-3 minutes, it was something. Fievel's gonna die, or he's gonna get sold into child labor, or he's getting, I don't know, he's getting a TBI.
Right? Like, oh my god, the amount of TBIs this kid's got now by the time this is all done, especially from that barrel ride, just slamming into brick walls, the falls that he took, the black lung he's got now. Like, I mean, this kid, seriously, I don't know how he ends with this smile on his face that we ended this last clip on, but like,
he should be talking like Rocky Balboa right now.
Legit. Yo, Adrian!
Oh, Papa! And totally not making fun of people who have TBIs.
No, me either. I mean, I know plenty. I've worked with TBI patients. Legitimately, though, he should just be broken.
He should be slurring his speech.
Yeah.
Having memory issues. All kinds of stuff.
I will say this, though. In fairness, you can drop a mouse out of a plane and it won't reach terminal velocity.
I did not know that.
Yeah, so they can actually, from quite a height and be fine because they don't ever reach terminal velocity.
And their bones are pretty much all cartilage.
Yeah. That's kind of weird. It's kind of a weird random fact, sorry. But honestly, I love this movie. I still love this movie even after all of this. Even after analyzing it through the lens of the amount of trauma that it brings to the table. This is still one of my favorite movies from childhood. Just like the Never-Ending Story, mind you, which was also fuck all of trauma. But
right.
But this movie, there's just something classic about it. And I think one of the things that was really important to me was kind of the father's relationship in this movie, even as a kid. Because I was really close to my dad. So, like, I mean, it was kind of an important thing, right? Like, to have that. And so, all in all, I mean, I do think this movie is deserving of the rating that we gave it as a 10 on the trauma scale. It definitely tugs at your heartstrings, and it definitely takes hold real fast with the trauma from the invasion of the Cossacks to him being torn off the boat and everybody thinking he's dead, to him just constantly missing his family, to the fires, the arson, the danger he's put in just left, right, and sideways. Like, it just never stops.
And not to mention the nightmare fuel of the giant mouse of Minsk.
Yeah.
Which is just utter nope.
Was this movie, I can't even remember, was this movie rated G?
Yeah.
Once again, the movie rating system proving that it is absolute garbage. I feel like this movie should have been PG. Like, parental guidance definitely suggested for this. Maybe PG-13. Like,
but even, like, now the guidance has gotten more, I think has gotten stricter.
It's kind of gotten more lax in a lot of ways. But did you know the PG-13 designation only existed because somebody didn't, was it Steven Spielberg? One big movie producer, Spielberg or Lucas, didn't want to actually change something in their movie? Or didn't, oh no, it was before the rating system was standardized.
Oh.
And they created the PG-13 designation, which in creating the PG-13 designation, it was also before the standardization, R actually used to represent what NC-17 is
now, yeah.
And the X designation got taken by the porn industry, and then NC-17 had to be implemented. Sorry, weird randoms. So, but yeah, anyways, off on mild tangent. All in all, guys, that was our presentation on American Tail. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I definitely, as always, enjoy watching movies and breaking them down and finding out just how much trauma from my childhood I somehow survived.
Emotional damage. Emotional damage.
As always, we have a section. Wow. I'm gonna start that over because sex is not the thing I was trying to say. We have a suggestion box down below on our channel.
Oh my god, that's what
you're... Listen, you know, please feel free to drop us suggestions. Give us movies. We've picked the last 2 movies. We like to trade off between movies we do and movies you guys pick. By all means, drop us suggestions so that we can do other movies. I would appreciate it. Also, we have a merch link down there. Please check out our merch. We have a bunch of new merch that we started putting up as well. Any way you feel like helping support the show other than spreading the word, that it would be totally awesome and fantastic. We love you guys. We love to do the show. Have a wonderful, wonderful evening.